Today, the United States is a coast-to-coast superpower. It is a massive, highly secured landmass stretching thousands of miles. In the 17th century, the picture looked entirely different. The earliest European colonies were just a few struggling settlements clinging to the eastern seaboard, dwarfed by a continent governed by hundreds of thousands of native peoples. To survive, those early coastal settlements pushed westward. They required timber, fresh land, and agricultural output to sustain their growing populations, pressing deeper into established native territory. This rapid outward pressure placed an increasing burden on the colonial governments. By expanding so quickly, they were forcing together competing economies and social systems that had no established way to coexist under a single authority. We often view American history through its ideological documents. But to see how the nation actually took shape, we have to look past the parchment and focus on the violent, relentless drawing of its physical borders. That initial push inland was fueled by global rivalries. The colonies secured their first major continental footprint by acting as proxies for the British Empire, fighting to expel the French from the Ohio River Valley and Canada. After expelling the French, the British attempted to halt colonial settlement at the Appalachian Mountains. The colonists fought the American Revolution to reject those geographic limits, prioritizing the conquest of the Western wilderness over their allegiance to the Crown. The text of the Declaration of Independence formalized this breakaway. It legally untethered the colonies from British authority, transforming them into a sovereign entity capable of managing its own territorial interests. Independence did not invent the engine of territorial expansion. It removed the British brakes, allowing the new republic to accelerate westward. By the 1840s, this acceleration required an ideological justification. It found one in manifest destiny, the belief that Americans were divinely ordained to spread their agrarian society and political system across the entire continent. The map filled in rapidly. The Louisiana Purchase doubled the nation's size overnight, and the military conquest of the Mexican-American War secured California, Texas, and the Southwest. Securing this landmass required clearing it. The federal government forced the removal of tens of thousands of Native Americans, including the Cherokee, the Creek people, and the Seminole tribes, pushing them off ancestral homelands and marching them toward the Mississippi. As soon as the land was claimed, the resource rushes began. The 1848 discovery of gold in California drew hundreds of thousands of prospectors, requiring grueling labor in brutal conditions to extract wealth from the western fringes. Manifest destiny served as a useful political slogan. In practice, it was a physical process that systematically erased the continent's existing demographic map and drew an entirely new one. But the geographic engine had a systemic flaw. Every time a new territory was carved out of the West, the federal government had to answer a divisive question. Would this new land rely on the labor of enslaved people or mandate freedom? The inability to compromise on human bondage turned newly drawn territories into battlegrounds. In Kansas, pro-slavery and anti-slavery settlers flooded the region to influence the vote, triggering a wave of localized warfare that left hundreds dead. When Abraham Lincoln won the presidency in 1860 on an anti-slavery platform, Southern states realized they were losing their grip on the expanding map. They faced a future where the West would be closed to their economic model. In response, South Carolina seceded and quickly fired on Fort Sumter, a federal fort in Charleston Harbor. It was a direct military strike over federal property and territorial sovereignty. The expansion engine had outpaced the country's ability to compromise. By 1861, the geography of the nation had become a map of irreconcilable differences, leaving total war as the only mechanism for deciding the future of the continent. 4 years later, the Union secured victory, but the conflict left 600,000 dead and large parts of the South reduced to shattered cities and ruined infrastructure. Seeking to permanently bind this fractured landmass, the government accelerated the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad in 1869, physically linking the east and west coasts and cutting travel time from months to mere days. Tying the nation's geography together required a final political compromise. To settle the contested presidential election of 1876, the federal government agreed to withdraw its troops from the South, choosing national economic unity over protecting the hard-won civil rights of newly freed Black Americans. With federal protections gone, Reconstruction collapsed. This abandonment allowed local governments to implement systemic disenfranchisement and violence, stripping millions of their political power for another century under Jim Crow laws. This finalized map of the territories stands as the ultimate record of the American project, a landscape defined by the moral compromises and human costs required to unify it from sea to shining sea.